What is going on, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Ride. I'm your host, Jeff Hartman, on this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning podcast. Thank you for joining me. It is Monday. It means we're ready for a new week. We're ready for a week that's going to end with a Pittsburgh Steelers game, preseason, mind you, but still nonetheless. The Jacksonville Jaguars will host the Steelers this upcoming Saturday, and we have a lot to talk about leading up to that game. And today, no Monday morning conversation, just my thoughts pertaining to the Pittsburgh Steelers. In the second half of the show, we're going to talk about the latest news. Injuries are really piling up. We're going to update 7 shots, all the information that's been coming out of training camp. But I wanted to start in this first half in a little different mode. And I have to be honest, I am a Pittsburgh fan. I want to get that out of the way right early on. I am a Pittsburgh fan. People will say, oh, Jeff, you're a Steeler fan. I said, yes, but I'm a Pittsburgh fan. And they kind of look at me funny, and I said, well, I like the Pirates, the Penguins, and the Steelers. I like all the teams. And so the other day I was thinking about the Steelers and the struggles that they've had. We all know the numbers. We all know the information. Haven't won a playoff game since 2016. Haven't been to a Super Bowl since 2010. We know all this stuff. We know it. Everyone's heard it ad nauseum, especially this offseason. And I know that a lot of people are frustrated. They are very, very frustrated with the organization and all that stuff, that extra stuff that I just mentioned that surrounds the team, until they finally break through, win a playoff game, advance to at least the next round, whatever round that is, divisional round, whatever. They have some work to do, and the Steelers can be frustrating. They can be a frustrating organization at times. And again, especially when we're talking about playoff success. But the one thing I wanted to do for all the fans out there is I wanted to provide some perspective. Because as fans, well, we're stuck. We follow teams, we love teams, and we hope that they win, and we hope they do what we think is best, but ultimately we are completely helpless. Like, we can't help them at all. Well, we have no say in the outcome of these contests, no matter what sport, no matter what team you're talking about. And so because of that, I think sometimes fans can be even more frustrated because it is a very helpless feeling. And like I said, I understand that not everyone that listens to my podcast, that reads SteelCurtainNetwork.com, they're not all Pittsburgh fans. They definitely like the Steelers. If you listen to me and you're not a Steeler fan, well, that's fine. I'm happy to have you. I'm not so sure you would find it very entertaining if you liked another football team. But I'm going to use Pittsburgh sports as an example as to why we as Steeler fans should probably be a little bit more, happy's not the word, but we should at least be appreciative. I think that's the way we should trend in terms of describing how we should feel about the Steelers. And let me make this clear by going through the examples. I'm going to use the other 2 professional sports teams in Pittsburgh, and then we'll round it up and we'll wrap it up at the very end, bringing it back to the Steelers. But I know that they might be frustrating, but let's bring some perspective. So let's talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins. You thought I was going to go to the Pirates first. No, I'm not. I'm going to go to the Pittsburgh Penguins. I want to give you, in case you're not a hockey fan or in case you're not a Penguins fan, let me give you a quick summation as to what has happened over the last, 3 to 5 years. So the Penguins have decided all along that they are going to keep their core, which is basically comprised of 3 players, Evgeny Malkin, Sidney Crosby, and Christopher Letang. They're going to keep the core together at all the time. Like, other pieces of the puzzle have gone away. You know, Marc-Andre Fleury leaves. He goes elsewhere. He went to Vegas, played for the Golden Knights. You had other players who had been with the team for a very long time. They go away. But those 3 have always remained. It was a priority. And then the thought was, well, the organization is going to build around that trio of players. Build around them. You've got the 2 centers in Crosby and Malkin and a defender in Letang. So you have those foundational pieces. In theory, it made sense. You want to keep those players. You want to keep them there. So you're going to keep them and you're going to build around them. Now, this is not the current GM, but the past GM, Ron Hextall, made a series of very bad moves. And those moves not only didn't help the organization, some of them were bad contracts. When you think about Tristan Jarry, the goaltender, the contract that he was given. But even the current GM, Kyle Dubas, the signing of Carlson was just awful. And it caused a lot of the plan of building around them to backfire. So when Dubas comes in, He decides as a general manager, we're going to trade off a lot of our current assets for future draft capital. Jake Gensel is gone, as an example. And so then they compile all this draft capital. I mean, crazy amounts of draft capital. The Penguins had more draft picks over the next 3 years than any team in the NHL. And so the draft came by this past season, this offseason, and you're thinking they're going to trade these draft picks, right? Because you have this aging core of Crosby, Malkin, and Letang, and you want to win again. So you're going to trade some of this draft capital, these first and second and third round draft picks that you've accrued over these past few years. You're going to trade them, right? They don't. At least not in 2025, they didn't. They draft all these players. And so you're thinking, wait a second, this doesn't add up. Why would they draft all of these players? And I don't have the number in front of me, but why would they have so many selections? These players, this is not football, where these drafted rookies come in and contribute at the professional level right away. This is more like baseball. You draft a young kid, he comes into the system, he works his way up, and then he's ready to go. By the time some of these players are ready to go, Crosby, Malkin, and Letang will be moving on, as Chuck Noll would say, to their life's work. So that is a frustration amongst Penguin fans. What are they doing? What's the plan? Now let's go to the other team, the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I don't like to talk about the Pirates too much because I don't think they're worthy of the time spent on the podcast. I think that the Pittsburgh Pirates are one of the worst run organizations in all of sports. And it's been this way for a very long time. Back with Kevin McClatchy and all the other GMs and owners and coaches that have come through, the 20 straight years of losing seasons that coincided with them opening up PNC Park, just such a bad team. The renaissance in 2013 to 2015, which everyone thought, yes, here we go. We found a new way for the Pirates, and this can be a baseball town. But again, what the Pirates have been, and this is consistent over the last probably 2 decades, is nothing more than a farm system for other teams. When you think about players who have been drafted by the Pirates, they develop with the Pirates, they play well, and then what happens? They get shipped away to another team, and then you watch them have success with another organization, typically one that pays a lot of money to their players. This is a non-cap sport. You can spend as much money as you want. This is not we have to manage the salary cap situation. Garrett Cole is a prime example of what happens with the Pirates. Is if I'm trying to give you one clear-cut example, they draft him, he comes into the organization, he's a flamethrower, he's a great pitcher, and what do? They trade him to the Yankees for players that haven't done crap with the Pirates, and he goes on to still be a dominant pitcher. Has he won a World Series? No, but that's neither here nor there. He's been a very good pitcher for them for a very long time. He's out for the year with an elbow injury, but still, this is what the Pirates are. They are a laughingstock. They are an absolute joke. And so a lot of fans, myself included, thought with Paul Skeens now within the system, he just had an unbelievable rookie year, NL Rookie of the Year, and he has this guy has Cy Young written all over him. And you're thinking this team is going to build around this young stud. They have a great rotation. When Jared Jones is healthy, Mitch Keller, those 3 right there, that's great. Add some bats, go out, spend some money. Again, no cap. What do? They don't do anything. And then at the trade deadline, which just passed last week, Cherington, the general manager, decides to trade away players like David Bednar, which I'm okay with, but he doesn't get anyone that's going to actually help the team in 2026. What are we doing? They are falling directly in line with what they've always done, and you can just already see the writing on the wall that Paul Skeens is going to be out the door. Once the Pirates lose contractual control over Paul Skeens, they are not going to pay him the hundreds of millions that the Dodgers, that the Red Sox, that the Yankees will pay. They're not going to do it. And so they're going to trade him. And here we go. The sick cycle continues. This is one of those situations where you look at the Penguins and some of the questionable things that they're doing. There might be a plan there. The Penguins are pretty successful. You look at the Pirates, they have no freaking plan. No one knows what the hell they're doing. They are literally flying by the seat of their pants with that horrible owner, Bob Nutting. Don't get me started on that guy. And everything that guy touches turns to crap, by the way. And I know this on more than one level. But I'll say this. Let's bring this home. if you're a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers, if you're listening to this podcast or watching this segment on our YouTube channel, if you are a part of the Steelers fan base, say what you want, but the Steelers never fall into the categories that I just mentioned with the other two sports teams. They never fall into the category of, what's the plan? What are we doing? Or these guys have no plan. They are flying by the seat of their pants. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't fall into those categories. Their plans might not always work, but they are always trying to put a winning product on the field. Again, you may not like what they're doing, but they are always trying to put a winning product on the football field. And you might say this. Someone said this on YouTube. I did a YouTube short which kind of talked about this a little bit, previewed before the podcast. And someone said, oh, great, we're celebrating mediocrity. It's not what I'm talking about. I am not talking about the end result here, folks. I am talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, from Art Rooney II all the way down to Mike Tomlin as the head coach, always putting a plan together to try and succeed. Always putting a plan in place to try and break through. This is not the Pirates. This is not the Penguins. And folks, if you're not a Pittsburgh fan, there is a million sports teams in a million leagues that I could choose that are doing the same thing the Penguins are doing and the same thing the Pirates are doing. And we could even talk about other teams in the National Football League. What are the Cleveland Browns doing? They don't have a quarterback. They trade for Kenny Pickett. They bring in Joe Flacco, and they draft two quarterbacks in the 2025 draft. Dylan Gabriel in the third and Shedeur Sanders in the fifth. What are you doing? What is the plan? And then they give Myles Garrett everything that he ever asked for and then some, and they've never won anything. And so I get it. People are going to say, well, TJ Watt hasn't won anything, whatever. We're not getting into that discussion right now. But what I'm trying to say is that whether or not you understand the Penguins and Pirates examples, the Pittsburgh Steelers are an organization that we as fans should be appreciative for. Because when was the last time, as a Steeler fan, I don't care how old you are, when was the last time you sat down and watched a Pittsburgh Steeler game that was meaningless? Meaningless because they weren't in the hunt. I will pause and let you think about it. It has been a very long time. It has been a very long time since the Pittsburgh Steelers were in a situation where, I don't care if it's just week 18 and they've been mathematically eliminated, it has been a very, very, very long time. And I recall that game, I think it was 2016, 2015 is when they played the Bengals in it was week 17 at the time, 16-game schedule. That was the game that Antonio Brown failed to show up on time. We all remember the videos of Mike Hilton and other players sitting on their helmets in the 50-yard line watching the other game that they needed to turn their way. Even then, they still had a chance. So when you're thinking about, man, the Steelers, this organization, it's awful. They need to tear it down, top to bottom. Just tear it all down. The next time you're thinking that, think to yourself, when was the last time they were incompetent and not even in the mix? Yes, you can talk about mediocre Mike. Sure. You can talk about the non-losing season streak. You can talk about all that stuff. But I am appreciative that the last time the Steelers lost more games than they won was in 2003. 6-10 year. Led them to the 2004 draft, 11th overall, Ben Roethlisberger out of Miami of Ohio. 2003. They've had 500 years, but 2003. There are some people listening to this podcast that might not have been born when that happened. Think about that. And I'm not telling you how to fan. I'm not telling you that you can't be critical and judgmental of the team as things play out. You could be watching what they're doing this offseason and say, nope, I don't think it's going to work. You are entitled to your opinion, absolutely. But when it comes to looking at it from the grand scheme of things, this team is always trying to find a way to get a 7th Lombardi trophy. And when you think about this offseason, they've done stuff that has been different. They are trying something new this year. Not the quarterback thing. They did it last year. Yeah, we're going to get a quarterback on the cheap, end of their career, or maybe they just need a fresh start. Obviously, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields last year. This year, Aaron Rodgers. But they have a plan. But then they go out and they're making trades. They trade George Pickens, 3rd-round pick to Dallas. They make the trade Minkah Fitzpatrick to Miami for Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey. They're making these moves that are very odd for Steelers fans to see. But again, what's the alternative? It's what everyone always says they hate about the team. All they do is the same thing over and over again and expect different results. Not this time. They are trying something new. Will it work? We will see. But this is what I love and appreciate about the Steelers. They're not the Pirates, who are just like, I don't care. Let's not spend any money. Let's save it. We don't need to spend money. Why are we spending money? We're making money anyways. What are we doing? That's not the Steelers. They're also not the Penguins, where you kind of are scratching your head like, I don't understand what they're trying to do here. The Steelers' plan has been laid out in front of every single person out there, and it says, here it is. Is it the right plan? Only time will tell. Will they execute it perfectly? They have so far. And I'm appreciative. And I'm not going to tell you that you should be appreciative, but I'm appreciative. Because as someone that has to create content about a team, the one thing that I can always lean on is that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be competitive. They're going to be in the mix. And if Aaron Rodgers retires after this year and they draft a quarterback in the 2026 draft and they're competing with Will Howard, guess what I probably will say? They're going to be competitive. They're going to be competitive. They're going to win a good number of games. I was on a podcast as kind of like an online radio show on Sunday, and it's kind of hinging on gambling. And at the very end, the guy said, hey, 8.5 is the win total. What do you think? I said, hammer the over. I don't even know what the odds are, but hammer the over. What has happened in Mike Tomlin's tenure that would make someone think they're going to lose 8? They're only going to win 8 games? They're going to lose less than 9? No, come on. It would take a slew of injuries to get the team there. And it could happen. Injuries happen. Talk about that in the second half. They seem to be piling up. But I want you to think about this the next time you're getting frustrated with the team, the next time you're getting frustrated with the organization. I want you to think about this and say, you know what? Perspective tells me that, yeah, it could be a lot worse. Think about being a fan of a team that you know right now, training camp, preseason's coming up, you know right now, deep down, that you don't have a prayer. You don't have a prayer of even sniffing a division title. You don't have a prayer of sniffing the playoffs. You're looking at where you're going to be drafting next year. My buddy Wesley Coleman, who's on the Way We See It podcast, it runs on our NFL page, NFL feed, FFSN NFL, every single Wednesday. He's a Saints fan. He said, I got to be honest, we're going to be terrible this year. All I'm thinking about is, where are we going to draft next year? He's saying that now. That's not the Steelers. And for that, I'm appreciative. All right, we're going to be back in the second half of the podcast. We're going to talk about the latest news and notes surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers as it pertains to training camp, all that good stuff. We'll be right back after this break.